Welcome to the Social for Brokers podcast. My guest today is one that's become a household name over the last 2 years, and he's had two huge transitions over the last few years. The first one, he went from being a mortgage broker at the start of the pandemic and transformed into a brand and podcast coach. The other transition was much more interesting, where he went from having a full top knot to a clean shaven head overnight. So if you follow Ash for a while, you probably have been shocked, like one day rocked up on one of his Instagram stories and had a bald, like when I'm talking bald, proper bald head. So that was another massive transition that he had. So before we get into the hairstyles, we'll talk about Ash. He specializes in helping financial professionals get more leads. I can just see Ash just laughing in the background. And if you're going to be watching this on YouTube, you'll see him. We'll get into who he helped in the past with his training, because he's got a massive, amazing track record. If you mention some of his names, the people that he's looked after, you'll know them straight away. I will also talk about how he's working on his YouTube channel on how to help people grow their podcasts. So Ash is a fountain of knowledge when it comes to anything social, and I know he's just going to give so many hints and tips on here. So without further ado, Ash, I welcome you to the podcast, No Top Knot.
Chris, you kill me. That was brilliant. I was not expecting that. I was thinking, what two transitions? I've had so many in my life. That's brilliant. Yeah, man.
But before we start, when did you do it and why did you do it?
I have a really, so the top knot, there's a funny story. So quickly with it, the top knot thing was, I used to be a performing arts guy and I used to have long hair. So I was a professional actor and stuff back in the day. And so I've always had long hair, but then obviously become a broker, have the normal haircut. And I was like, when lockdown happened, I said to my wife, I've always wanted to have this Viking shaved top knot thing. So we full on grew it, and I was just like, this is just going to be a lockdown thing. It's only, as we all thought, only a couple of months and it'll be gone, and then as my brand started to take off and I started getting known as that guy, and I was on Gary Dass's show and he's like, oh, Ash, the guy with this crazy hair. And I was like, I remember saying to my wife, I was like, is this the hill I want to die on? Do I really want to be the top knot guy? And, so then I was like, well, what do I do? And I like harsh haircuts. And my son had just been born. He was pulling my hair all the time. So I was just one day, because my wife likes long hair, I just came home and I just got the clippers that I would shave the sides with and just went, woof, and took it all off. And I love it, man. I love it. From somebody who is dedicated, shows you how obsessed I am with content. Mm-hmm. Is that for me? As soon as I did it, and then I proper razor and everything.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and I love hardcore going full bald with a beard. And for me, I was like, this is amazing, because if I wear the same tops, as in I've got 20 of the same t-shirt, 2 of the same shirt. I was like, no one can ever know when I shot these videos. No one will ever know,
yeah.
So I batch. I'm batched months in advance, and you'd never know, because I wear the same things. I look the same. I act the same. So I was hooked then. But the only thing is that I didn't factor in the sun getting burned.
Oh, yeah. He's now got hats in his repertoire in the wardrobe.
So that's kind of how it happened. But it was a very big shock. My parents hate it. My mum hates it because everyone thinks that I've chosen to go. That I'm going bald, but I'm not. I have chosen to do it.
I love that we've been on this podcast for about 5 minutes now. We haven't talked anything social, anything mortgages, just about Ash's hair, because that is what everybody wanted to talk. I just remember you coming on with it going, oh my God, is this Photoshop? Is he that good at video editing that he's managed to edit out his top knot?
No one has ever, as in it's the question that people want to ask and no one dares ask. So I'm so glad that you did it.
This is a first. The podcast episode of this one is going to be losing the top knot with Ash Borland.
I love it.
Ash, I think most people know who you are, but just give us a little 60-second insight into your background.
Of course, yeah. So I am, and I'll be real brief with it. Don't want to give you my life story and all my pains and sadness because no one cares. I was a professional performing artist, singer, actor, dancer. Decided, when I left that career quite young, I was professional from a very young age. Decided I didn't want to do that. Got into estate agency, loved it. Couldn't work out though why when I was an estate agent, and then I became a mortgage broker. Why I was good at it. And the reason why I was good at it was because my performing arts background had taught me how to present myself, to deal with branding, personal branding, so to speak. started to do videos to generate leads. And this was back in 2017. So this was where, and I was a little bit late as well still, because I'd followed a lot of fitness people, a lot of like people in that kind of social marketing, kind of influence marketing space. Me and my wife kept saying, you need to do this. So I was thinking about it 2 years before, but I was scared like everybody else. I was like, I don't know if people are going to like it. Started making videos, was really good. It was really good fun. I really enjoyed it. And started generating leads from it. It took a while, and I'm sure we'll dive into that type of stuff as we go through, but it took a while. Then when the pandemic hit, I didn't really know what to do. And I was like, to be really honest with you, and I haven't opened this on a show before, when the pandemic hit, I'm dyslexic. And I was like, can I really deal with the criteria changes, the way they're changing, how they're changing? That was the motivation behind doing what I did. And I was like, and my wife was pregnant, and I thought, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can run this business and be on top of this stuff as well as I could. And I was like, and every day people are messaging me, asking me about how to get better on video. And so I just kind of, leaned into what they call it, leaned into your brilliance, leaned into my skill and went, I'm going to try this. And it just took off like a very similar story to you, I think, Chris, as we know, we're mates. I thought no one would. I just thought, if I make 500 quid doing this, I'm going to, I'll be happy. And it just went boom, and it just took off. And from there, as I've worked with lots of people, and people like Carla Edwards, Craig Skelton, Anish Patel. I've built, easily hundreds of thousands of revenue for these clients, and all of it. I mean, most people wouldn't know who I've worked with, because I'm quite humble with it. I don't really like to share it, because I believe it's them that's done it. It's not just me. I help them, but they're the people who are executing. But it's been a crazy, crazy journey. And that's me for broker. We don't want to go too much into the non-broker stuff, because there's other things as well. Keep it niche specific for you guys, but that's how I ended up in where I am now.
And it's interesting. I want to talk about the people that you've dropped a few names there. So Carla Edwards has just landed a deal with Aviva. She's been doing some videos with them. I mean, if you said to Carla Edwards 2.5 years ago, in 2 years, you will be on Aviva's social media pages talking about protection. And I haven't spoken to Carla Edwards. I need to get her on this podcast, actually.
I'll get her on for you.
Yeah. One person I've spoken to Craig Skelton in the past, but one person I spoke to at Anish, and I haven't spoken to you about this because I just thought it was phenomenal and shows the open-mindedness to you, but also your expertise in this area. At Anish, we're speaking on the podcast, which will be released soon. He was talking about when you started working together, you were saying, right, this is the setup. We need to be sat there, we need to be talking to the camera. This is the best way to do it. Then after a couple of months, Anish turned around to you and said, look, Ash, it's just not working for me. And you turned around and had the balls, after you've put yourself out there and said, this is how you do it. You had the balls to go, do you know what? Scrap that. Let's start again. Let's be raw. Let's be you. How much that takes a lot of self-awareness for you just to turn around and say, right, disregard everything I've just said for the last 3 months and let's start again. Really, I just thought it was incredible. I said to Anish, I never knew that was how it started.
That's how I am.
Makes you realize, I suppose you really want your clients to win that much, don't you?
Yeah. So I love that. And that you say that's a great story. Yeah. To understand me, you have to understand me in order to understand that way of thinking. So I am like zero money. I'm not motivated by money whatsoever. I'm a creative guy. Like what goes in my head is these ideas. I'm actually very gifted, and it sounds really silly. This is a gift I have, is this: you give me an idea and I can run with a million different ways on how it could work. So for me, when if you and it's like poor old Thomas Honor, I had a drink with him once and we went out for a night out thing, and he was like, what do you think to this? And by the end of it, I think he was like, please just shut up, because there was so many ideas. I owe it to my client, to the idea, not even to my client. I owe it to the idea to make it see light. It has to be, it's not, my ego can't stop that from coming to fruition. So when I speak to people, it's like, it's actually upsetting for me when it doesn't work. There's nothing sadder than seeing a client, and this is where ability versus, like where the idea might be. So with a niche, what we originally, we go at the idea, the end goal is always the same, but the destination is going to be different. And for me, and this has been a big learning curve, was I'm good at lots of things, but I'm terrible at lots of other things. And Anish's things that he's good at and terrible at will be different to mine. And so I can edit videos till I'm like you, Chris, can sit and make, you know, content till you're blue in the face. But there are most people who work with you, they pay you because they can't. And so that was a real, like, and I noticed that with all of them. I do the same with Carla. All my favorite, they're all wonderful. The best ones are ones that I started to realize I need to get out of the way and I need to let them them carve their path, and I can then guide them through like content principles and behavioral principles and how you can say, okay, that's not, you might like that, but we need to maybe tweak that a little bit, but keep it raw in what you're doing. And yeah, it was hugely ego orientated at the beginning, but you've got to, if you want to be successful, really successful at this, Carla getting those deals and stuff, you have to let them be them. And if they're not going to be them, then they just become carbon copies of yourself. But that was hard pill to swallow, because at the beginning you do feel like it is, you know, you do feel like they're my work, but they're not my work. It's their work.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think we can take that onto a broader scale where you're telling people to be themselves on video. I think we just say that on social, be yourself on social. You might, and I know you're a big advocate of video, but you don't have to be on video. You don't have to write long form content. You don't have to, do you know what I mean? Do podcasts. You do whatever's comfortable for you. And I think that was a big thing. A lot of people at the beginning of the pandemic thought, you've got to be on video, you've got to be on video. Whereas you took a different point and went, if you want to be on video, I'll teach you how to do it. Yeah. You can't teach somebody that doesn't want to do video because they don't feel that that's their medium that they can connect with their clients, is it?
I don't think video is the be all and end all at all.
Everything, don't you? Yeah.
No, but I think you need to, and again, I would have been a bit different 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but too much Gary V in my brain, I think maybe. But like, video is not the answer to any of you guys listening out there. The answer to your leads problem. It's not. The answer to your leads problem is the quickest, the most organic and real way that your audience can connect with you. That is the answer. And a lot of the times that oftentimes is not video. Because because the problem that I see with brokers make with video is that they massively mistake. They think that video is going to solve the problem, and then they make a rubbish video that doesn't hit any of the emotional cues that are needed. Video is a lot harder. It's like making a symphony. You've got to make sure that if you're going to do it, you've got to keep it very short, because you're not skilled enough to do everything. That's why it's short. That's why we keep it short, because people go, oh, you know, I want to do a 3-minute videos are hard to do. They're very hard to execute because you've got to keep them interested and keep it relevant for a long period of time. So if you are adamant at doing video, do video for 15 seconds. But I actually do think a lot of the time, sometimes the reason I do video is because I'm dyslexic. I can't write. So that's why I do it.
This is exactly why you do video, but there might be somebody out there that enjoys writing long form content.
Right. Like right. Because writing actually will have such a better impact return. Like if you have a blog on your website and you're good at writing, the return on investment over a long period of time is insane. Way better, not way better than video, but well, yeah, probably. I'd say it probably is. And
then it would attract an audience that the mortgage broker has been true to themselves to try and attract.
100%. I agree with that. That's why I would say with Anish. Anish's one was just be raw, and you know, we'll insert beep here, but I said just make rubbish, like content, you know, rubbish content. And that was the goal. I said it needs to look like it looks rubbish. It needs to look like you have picked up your phone and just spoken to it, and that you don't know what you're saying, and you're kind of a bit, because that's what you are.
It's almost endearing to that person, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the same with everything. I think the same with social, with pictures, with written, with stories, with podcasts. I think the problem what I think a lot of brokers do, and it's the same with everybody, but brokers are, because it's the world we're in and it's the ones that I see the most, they're all thinking that it's the solution, and it's not. The thing is not the solution. The solution is connecting with your audience. And so the amount of people I meet, well, I need to be on YouTube now, I need to be on podcasting now, I need to do that. No, you don't. You need to do one thing very, very well. And you do that one. The best way to do something very well is to find something you fall into a flow state with, which means you enjoy. Or, and I say this a lot, and this is something you would do, like well, me and you do, either you do something very, very well, or you pay someone to do it very well. And the reason why I say pay someone to do it very well is paying someone no money to do a rubbish job is worse than not paying anyone to do nothing. If you want to do it, pay someone, but pay them properly. Because if you won't get the result you want, that's been something that's been a pet hate of mine, is I've gone off to people and gone, go and outsource, and then they'll outsource it. They come back and I'm like, that's not a very good idea. So I think you've got to make sure everything you put out there is representing you. Yeah. Does it represent you in the best way?
And that's the kind of content that we create. A post that I might create for one mortgage company is going to be very different to another mortgage company because they want to deliver different messages. And that's where you need to, I like the way that you say that. Think about connecting with your audience is the overarching goal. How do you then do that? Is it social media posts? Is it videos? Is it long form content? Is it creating a podcast? The first thing is all about connecting with the audience. And on that subject, what would you say is the most effective channel out there? And this isn't obviously a right or wrong answer, but what do you personally feel is the most effective channel out there at the minute?
The most effective channel, oh gosh, it's a good one. I have a reason. I know exactly. For me, it's YouTube. As in, I think for brokers, it should be YouTube. Like you say, not to backtrack on what we've just said. Again, overarching. If you're a video person, then YouTube is the place. And there's a reason why my old podcast that no longer exists now, but I interviewed tons of content creators around the world who are like top level. And one common trait kept appearing was these people who we see who have what we all want, which is this inbound leads on tap. This idea that they could go away for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and the leads still keep coming in. And I'm not talking about brokers. There are brokers out there like Alex Curry does that. But these people were like, they truly had passive lead gen. And they were only YouTubers. There was no one else. There was nobody else. Social media is a hungry beast. You've got to feed it. And if you don't feed it, and if you're not sat there, engaging every night, if you're not sat there, like actually making that content, but finding new ideas, constantly feeding it, what they call the decay rate, so how long that post is actually relevant for, is very, very short. Even on those good channels like say LinkedIn, where they, the reason why LinkedIn's decay rate is quite long is because it's a rubbish channel in comparison to everything else, because it's not as much content. It's not like good social channels have very fast decay rates. So that there's a sign of how active it is. That's why. But with YouTube, it's not a social platform technically. I mean, it kind of is, and they want to get into that space, but it is a search engine. So with brokers, I've done research, countless research with different firms on this, what I've worked with, where if you target specific searches and you do it for like 18 months, that's the bit that people don't like. You do it for 18 months, you will, well, you do it forever, but you give it 18 months of no reward, you will generate, like if you know how to target it, you will generate enough leads to cover your business.
So when you're creating content, there's two different questions here, really, because you and I are big on brand. Let's talk personal brand versus your brand as a color, as a recognizable brand. So how important are either of those? And you can't say one's more important than the other, I believe, but how important is it to have a recognizable brand on social or on YouTube?
Recognizable brand, it's really weird, that one. That's a good question. I love this because you're into the whole color black brand, which I love. And I actually think it's more important than personal brand, personally. I think that, again, the thing with YouTube to do as brokers is remove, and I've not said this on an interview, so this is like the first time I've done it outside of there, but not in the broker world. If you want to succeed on YouTube, stop trying to make it an advert for your business and instead try and help them. So your branding is not actually as important as you think, because with YouTube, it's more about what they call like just-in-time learning. You're trying to, can I get a mortgage and I've been bankrupt? I don't know. This guy's telling me I can. I've taken a grant out. Can I get it? I don't know. I haven't paid my tax. Can I get it? Like, that's what they want to know. So they're not looking at that point going, gosh, that orange and blue, that's a pretty good looking color. That's not what they're doing. So with YouTube, it's all about, don't put your logos. Don't say, hi, it's Ash Borland here from, so don't put any of that. front load, give it all. If you help them with a problem, chances are, and this is the thing with YouTube, the way to do it with that, with your color, your personal brand and your color brand, those things connect once they get into what they call, this is getting very deep, so like what they call session time. So what they would then do is someone who's got a problem, like let's say someone's been bankrupt, just because I've been doing some videos on that recently, so I know that type of research. Someone who's, can I get a mortgage if I'm bankrupt? They're probably going to be searching multiple terms around that as well. So they're not just searching one video and they're going to find the answer. They're probably going to search, can I get a mortgage with bankruptcy? Can I get a mortgage now that I'm discharged of bankruptcy? Can I get a mortgage 12 months being discharged of bank? So those 3 videos, they're 3 different topics. And they might sound the same, but they're 3 different. That's when color brand, personal brand, marketing brand, that's when that stuff starts to play in. Because what people start going is, well, wait a minute, let's say if it's you, Chris, it's a hypothetical, we're still in the industry, but it would be like, okay, this guy seems to know a lot about this. That's where it becomes powerful. And it's session time. It's about multiple videos at once, or multiple videos over a space of a period of a long time. Now, that's where the YouTube strategy, that's why 18 months is the thing, is that as you start to effectively claim these titles for yourself, these search terms, and you start to claim more of them, people can start to connect the dots. Wait a minute, that blue and orange thumbnail, that always appears when I search for content around this. That's where it's really powerful. But when you start to, and this is where brokers go very wrong, and not just brokers, everyone, but brokers in this scenario, they think that it needs to be their logo and their this and ABC mortgage brokers. When I'm looking, I don't want that. I need it served up to me straight away, the answer to the problem. So
drip feeding the brand over the course of the video.
And you'll build loyal followers over that's why 18 months is important, because over that you'll build real loyal kind of clients.
And for people that don't use YouTube at the moment, this can be done with your social media content, with your blog, save like with Instagram videos. If you release a video about, can I get a mortgage if I'm bankrupt? Then you do a video, can I get a mortgage after 12 months of bankruptcy? Even though they're not searching for you on YouTube, if on Instagram, they've seen those 3 videos, you almost then present yourself as a thought leader, don't you? And then
Facebook, for example, videos, I upload my videos everywhere now because Facebook uploads videos, as in like, if you search stuff on Google, videos on Facebook do appear. They do appear, and they do appear on LinkedIn. There's
talk of them starting to optimize Instagram videos as well.
Yeah, doesn't shock me at all. And I think that's where, like, I think all of that stuff, the thing that YouTube does, which is amazing compared to the others, YouTube, you have to do the best practices to be successful. But this stuff that I'm talking about here, you don't need to go on YouTube if you don't want to, but you should apply it to everything else, because it's exactly the same principle. You shouldn't have, like, so say for example, a video or anything. It's not even videos, it's anything. But if an image lands on my feed, the logo, say Social for Brokers, the logo of Social for Brokers is not important. The content is important. This was something that was taught to me by an incredibly amazing guy, content creator, which was like a real ego check for me. He was like, who are you making it for? And I was like, oh, and it was really hard. I went back through my videos and my posts, and I was like, wow, I get what he means. Because it was like, you've got to put the person, I'm in my podcast world, let's say, put the listener first. Put the person first, you serve their problem, they'll know. He was like, you don't need to introduce. I love it. Hi, it's Ash Borland here. I know it's Ash Borland. You posted the bloody video. I know who it is. If it's coming from your business account, you don't need to also have the logo on there, because the logo is in the icon. So it's all this weird stuff that, the best practices are fast, get to the point, serve their problem.
That's because social, I always say to people, we're not going on social media to read loads of text. We're trying to escape reality. We want quick, sharp information done, move on to the next thing. And I always talk about this on socials, that like YouTube videos, you probably have this a lot. People will watch your YouTube video, but 90% of them won't like or comment on it. The same as a social media post. And I think we get, me included, I'll upload a video and go, oh, how many likes have I got? And I sometimes
do all the time.
Stick back and go, actually, no, I don't. That's not what it's about. It's about adding value on social. So we've spoke about where you are at the minute with YouTube, and you're really pushing. If anybody is going to be setting up a podcast, obviously definitely get in touch with Ash. but I think it'd be better if we spoke about kind of social on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy not talking about podcasts.
Where do you see social going? We've spoken about YouTube and that's turning into a search engine, but how do you see TikTok going? Are there any platforms out there that you're thinking are going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, I actually think Instagram's going to be the next big thing.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think Instagram's gonna win. I really do. TikTok I think TikTok's come. It's changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
I am really funny with TikTok. I don't think TikTok has the legs to last this out from a business perspective, from a utility. Right. I hear a lot of, it is one of those when I get on consulting calls and people are like, I'm going to do TikTok for my business as a mortgage broker. And I just don't think it's a good idea. And that being said, I've interviewed some incredible brokers who do amazingly well on it. I've done strategies for clients who do really well on it. But that was, the world of TikTok is like, what happens in TikTok in a year, it's like dog years, like it literally is. Like a year in TikTok is like 7 years for someone else. It's so fast that I just don't think it's a smart investment. And I don't think it puts your brand in the right way, personally, with TikTok. I think if you're dancing around pointing, and it sounds really silly, but from longevity perspective, I don't think I think if you ride trends, you're going to get caught out. And I don't think it's a good idea. So I do think that, but I think Instagram will win. Because I think that what Instagram will do, just my own personal opinion, is I think Instagram was a bit too early with IGTV. And if they released IGTV now, which they've kind of rebranded it as Instagram video, I think they would have taken the cake, because vertical video 100% is the way forward. And I think that Instagram is so perfectly placed to be the king of that I don't think anyone even stands a chance near him, personally. And I think and it used to be like 2 years ago when brokers said to me, I'm going to use Instagram as a way to generate leads, I would literally say, don't waste your time. You can't do geotag. You can't, if you do a hashtag mortgage, then what's going to happen is you're going to get a mortgage in every country, and it's just a mess. Whereas now, with the introduction of reels, with the introduction of actual long form video, I think if I was a broker now, I'd be all in on Instagram. And I'd still be on Facebook. I still think Facebook I just don't think brokers can afford to not be on Facebook.
I think that's a very good way of putting it. If you're not, I love what you said earlier, is social media, you need to feed the beast. It's so hungry. You have to be on Facebook consistently uploading every week, because if you don't, you're soon enough chop right down the algorithm. You push down beneath your competitors. And what Facebook does now is when somebody searches or looks at your business, there'll be 3 recommendations beneath. There's 3 other businesses in your area like this. You need to be that number 1, especially on Facebook. And you will not do that by posting once a week, unfortunately. I do think Facebook is like, I hear people, with all due respect, people who say this, they don't know what they're talking about when they're like, Facebook's dead, TikTok is the place to be, YouTube's dead. No. Facebook is here. Like, it's not going anywhere. It is your digital passport. And I think it should be as a broker, it should be your number 1 focus for short-term business generation. I would have short-term and long-term. YouTube should be long-term, or a blog or something like that. It's going to generate leads. And short-term should be Facebook, with Instagram having a bit of a play. But like 100% Facebook is the place to be, especially the business that you're at. It's where everyone is. Service-led businesses are always best for Facebook. I say product-led businesses, Instagram. It's interesting what you say about TikTok, because I started it. Everyone started it during lockdown. Started watching it. Sorry, I didn't start it. I consume loads of dances, loads of content, and it was people dancing. Whereas now, I see it's more informative, and I learn so much about new tips and tricks on Instagram, Facebook. But I can see what you mean. The stuff that I'm uploading that's informative doesn't get the same reach as I did a time lapse of me driving to work. Are those people going to be consumers, or are people just jumping on it because it's the new thing? I would agree with you. Instagram is one of the best platforms. I love it. I love interacting with people. It's become a lot more community-led than it was this time 12 months ago. I find the whole aspect of it, like, I get annoyed with YouTube because I wish they would do more. Like, it's like Instagram as a platform is by far the nicest experience to use, to document, to put stories, to tag your friends, to chat with you. Everybody I talk to who's my creative friends, like yourself, it's all through Instagram. Like, everything is, it's my WhatsApp, really. But I
I do think that, like, as you said about like TikTok and that kind of reels content and stuff like that, the only issue that you have is people, when it seems like you get eyeballs on it, but the issue, and I watched this great video from a guy called Harris Heller from Alpha Gaming, who's like a big YouTube guy, and he was like, he was talking about YouTube Shorts, but it's the same thing. He said, don't confuse this. Like a view on that is not the same as a view on, say, like your Instagram or on your, like when they properly see it. It was like that the algorithm is serving these people that content. So they're not actively looking for you. And that means that the chance of them converting is exceptionally low. You need to get much higher. Whereas if you, for example, say we go back to like YouTube, of that thing of someone searched, can I get a mortgage with this? Only people who are searching, can I get a mortgage with a CCJ, are watching that video. Yeah. So you might only have 8 views on it, but that means 8 people who actually have that problem watching it. But this is the issue. We're comparing apples to oranges. This is the problem with the state of social media right now. Is, I mean, even like the podcast type of thing, 10 downloads and puts you in the top, like, you know, 27 downloads puts you in the top 50% of the world. If you get 27 downloads per episode, that puts you in the top 50% of the world. But when we're in a world where TikTok, well, if you don't get 1 million views on a post, then you're not even making it. It's really hard. And I think that's one thing your listeners need to understand is it's not apples to apples. And actually, you know, maybe don't go that way. Stick to your post. As you said, the amount of people that view it and interact, it's not always the right, you know, they don't generate to business. So you've got to be careful of that. And it's something that people don't know about. And then no one likes to talk about it because the big TikTok gurus, some of which are very close friends of mine, that's how they make their money. So they're going to say, this is the best platform ever. I think it will disappear. I just really do. I think stick to value-adding content, service-led businesses, you'll do fine.
Talking about that, it's interesting you spoke about YouTube, people searching, interacting. How much time do you spend on social a day? I'm not talking about YouTube, I'm talking Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Too much. No. Honestly, from a business point of view, not so much from like a personal consumption, but which I find it hard to differentiate the two because I only literally study stuff all the time. Yeah. But from a business point of view, minimum of an hour a day. When I was really going at it in I call it my power hour, but when I was really going at it during like lockdown and really wanted to see like growth in the business, I was actually doing 2. I would sit down and do 2 hours every morning. And that include what that is that was actually like engaging with key demographic people on one platform. So I would choose, I'd have one platform, time it was LinkedIn, and I would literally just engage with like 50 people a day, within different hashtags and within my network, and they were targeted, and they all had, it was a list, and it was a strategy. It was very much curated. Funny, I used to call it my DDR. That was the power hour, but I would call it my DDR, which is my digital daily ritual. And
2 hours every day. Wow.
2 hours every day, and it catapulted my business into the stratospheric level within weeks. You know what I mean? Like,
I just want to get across the audience. This was, so if we take it an hour on social media a day, you do at the minute, this is on top of creating content for social media.
On top of creating. This is not.
So we're talking about engagement. Yeah.
This is a couple of things. It's engagement is one. So engagement is the most important thing in a world. It goes right back to put the listener first. In a world where everyone's going, look at me, look at me, look at me. If you are just throwing out your content, hoping everyone's looking at you, then you are not going and looking at other people's content.
Great point.
How dare you have the audacity to act like no one's giving me views? Well, of course they're not, because you're not doing it to them. Yeah. The world goes round in a circle like reciprocity. The wonderful thing as well is, how do you feel when someone says, I love this video, this was really, really good? You feel amazing. Yeah. So when you say that, you are reinforcing more and more people. So you should be doing that. You should pay that forward. Plus, from an algorithm point of view, the more you engage with these people, the more the algorithm starts to think, this person, these have what they call a relationship. It's not a relationship probably, but they call it a relationship, which means that there's higher chance of your content, might be 5% of your content gets shown to your audience, but then that might move up to 6 to 7. And these percentages, they stack up. And so if you don't, and it's funny, when I do that DDR, that 1 hour, that power hour, there's an actual measurable, and I'm talking like a 25% increase, probably even more. Like if I don't have anybody in my diary and I'm like, oh, it's a bit quiet and it's been quiet for a couple of months. If I do that 2 hour, like proper 2 hour, but because I do it every now and then, but sometimes I fall off the wagon like we all do. If I've stopped and I start again within weeks, like not even weeks, like days, as in like 10 days. And I always come in and go to my wife, gosh, I'm filled up. She said, have you been doing that DDR again? Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's why. Every time you have to engage.
Sounds like you need some cream for that, mate. If you
DDR, yeah, exactly.
Got a case of the DDR.
But it 100% works. And the reason why it works is because like I said, you've got to engage. Yeah. And you should be engaging with, you should know your core demographic, do some research on hashtags, research on groups. You know, as a broker, like to give it contextual relevance to you, the best way to do it as a broker, I think, would be, I would be using Facebook, but think of your Facebook as the old school Rolodex. This is what people they don't use it right. Use your Facebook as business only. Personal profile, business only. Remove your kids, remove the family, remove the friends, or set up a new one, get rid of the old one, whatever you want to do, but use it like a Rolodex. Say to your clients, do you mind if I add you? What I do is I add my clients on Facebook so I can see what's going on and they can contact me. It's the easiest way. Great. Well, why is that good? Because every time your DDR will be very easy, and your power hour, because every day
your client.
Facebook tells you it's their birthday. They've got a new dog. They've had a new kid. You are in their life. You're there. You're engaging with them. And then your posts, the post that you're doing with Chris, for example, they can go on your business, but they can also go on your personal. Put them on your personal. Put them once a week. If you build a pure, it's about nurturing nurturing and pruning your friends list. If you've got, and I say this all the time, I did it on Facebook, on Instagram. I don't follow any of my family on Instagram.
Yeah.
This is where we're all making
generation tool, isn't it?
It's a lead generation tool. Exactly. You just want to, it literally should be, if you've got a good Facebook, it should only literally be, I wake up in the morning. This is where that DDR power, very easy. Sit on the sofa. Every post that's served to you is going to be business related. Yeah. Done.
Great point. I've never thought about it like that. That's a great tip because I say to people, you've got to be careful as to not run your personal page as a business page, because Facebook can shut them down because they want you to run a business page. But what Ash is saying is your personal page, just have it with business clients. Yes, you can have a separate one. And I tell you who's very good at this is Kim McGinley at Vibe Finance. Okay, yeah. See, she does it. She's got a business, because I came across a personal the other day and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was a business. And I thought, yeah, Kim's all over that. And then you've got a business page on top of that.
Split them. Yeah. So you're spot on. Yeah. You don't do your business profile through it. You're exactly right. And they don't want to shut it down, but make it that's their human contact point for you.
That's your Rolodex.
And don't have family on there. You know, I don't use social for personal use. Yeah. I don't know why you would need to. So personally, when people sit down with me and they go, oh, I just like my personal Instagram. I'm like, think about that. That's like drug addict. I just really like to take it. Just get rid of it and use it for business use. And if you use it for business use, you'll have all the things that you want, all the stuff that you come to me and Chris and people can go, oh, I just want these leads. If you nurtured that for a 6-month period, imagine if you do that as your client, you would know as soon as their kids are born, congratulations on the thing. Just so you know, check the file and you're not covered for upgraded. You didn't take upgraded Aviva children cover. So that's a bit of a concern for me. Do you want to speak about that? Because now that little Johnny's been born, that could be a problem. Boom.
Right.
Real problems.
I think you're getting into our strategy question, because there's loads in there that I think is going to be in there. But no, please don't apologize for that. It's a great one. You see a photo of a baby, you get in touch with them. We need to make sure your life insurance is up to date. As you said, they're bringing that information to you. It's in your feed. You haven't had to phone them. You haven't had to arrange an appointment. You've seen that they've got another child, or they've had.
You look like you're. This is the thing, is as long as you're doing it you're doing it genuinely. And you're getting involved with them. That's great. And you are saying, oh, love the extension. That looks so cool. You've done an extension. Do you need to remortgage? Yeah. Do you need like all of these things? But you don't do it publicly. But these are these things that as you start to get to know them, you get to know your clients on face value. Referrals will pour in. Everything will pour in.
Love it. Right, let's get on to the strategy question, because I'm aware that we've had a real good chat now. I think we've been on for about 40 minutes and there's so much in here. It's awesome. But let's finish off with the strategy question. So we're going to pretend that you've moved to the north of Scotland, you've got a laptop, a mobile phone and an internet connection. What would you do to start your mortgage business? And a bit of a disclaimer, this question was taken, I kind of repurposed this question off John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire. And Ash was saying that he's actually met John Lee Dumas. So if he listens to this, which it would be unreal if he did, that's where I got the inspiration from. But what would you do to start generating mortgage leads, Ash?
The first thing I would do is if I moved there, the first thing I'd do is look at the local area in regards to social. So I'd go on Facebook, I'd see what is the local community, what is the local, so it would depend on my niche. So if I'm doing this as a local broker, I want to generate leads in this new area that I've gone to, family, that type of thing. I would make myself a part of that fabric of that community as quick as I possibly could. That's really the first thing I would do via digital means. So getting into the local community groups, going to local networking events. I've already got like internet connection. And then I would start to do what I've said, start to kind of get chatting with these people and drip feed in what I do. But it's very important that you need to create a community. You need to connect with people. You guys as brokers, you do business because you're doing business because you are people refer you. Yes. So just publishing out that you do mortgages is a waste of time if you're in a new area. The first thing you need to do is meet people and get to know people. And I don't think those networking events, so to speak, but the 4Ns, I went to all of those, and the BNIs, I don't think they're very good, because I think they're too isolated. You need to get into the fabric of the community, get in the groups, answer the questions, say that you're new, how are you doing? Like, just make it very public. If this goes against what most people hear, they're like, oh, well, why would I do that? Well, because then everyone wants to know who the new guy is. Everyone wants to know what's going on. And once you're in, then I would start to then go, okay, well, do you know, like, I've done mortgages, start add them in, start to talk, then start to feed the content in while you're doing that. So you start feeding a little bit of, here's some good news stories from previous places where I've worked. All of that, you've got to slowly build it in. That's what I would do. And while I was doing that, I would spend time writing a blog or doing a video on YouTube to grow the brand, so that in 6 months, in a year's time, I would have a lead gen here dealing with clients outside of my local area around a specific niche. And then I would have a local niche that is word of mouth, very minimal social needed other than what we're doing with the DDR type stuff. Those two things then protect my business from, which is like if we talked about what went on with, like, say, with COVID, this protects your business from different areas. If one goes down, you have another lead source. Don't niche into one area, niche into two. Have a local, and I think every broker should local niche and then have a separate niche. And so that's what I would do. It's quite over the top. Yeah.
No, but I've never had anybody say, and this is why I love this question, because so many people come up with different answers. And people might have, I love the way that you've spoke about the two niches, because you can do one UK wide and one local. What's interesting is Ash is massive when it comes to social in terms of promoting his business. But just listen how much he didn't speak about social then. I think it's important. Social's a tool to help. It's not the answer, unfortunately. So it's all about building relationship. And if I could put one post out and kind of like get 20 leads off it, I would. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. I've had to nurture relationships with people to be able to put a post out and get the leads back. That's what the most successful businesses do, I've found, in the mortgage world.
It's what you do. It's what me and you were both saying before. It's like about ourselves. You get places, and this goes back to like my performing arts days. I realized that you get places if people recognize you for a certain thing, and you only get that by eyeballs on you or bums on seats. Or there's no way. This is the issue I find with a lot of businesses. Brokers fall into this category because it's bad advice. I think don't be humble and learn that if you're a brand new and you are coming on or straight into a new area, you are not the big fish in that pond. You have to go and start from the ground up again. But it's quicker when you do it that way. Like if of going, okay, I know I've got to do it, so I'm going to try and get seen by as many people as possible. I think that is the biggest thing I see. A lot of people is they want to find the lead source that's going to make them jump to the big business. And the problem is someone might look at you, Chris, and go, gosh, I'd love to be able to do what you do. Well, yeah, but it took you years to get to where you are.
Yeah.
And that's the issue, I think. The social media is not the answer to anyone's problems. And in fact, if I'm very honest with you who are listening to this, if you don't do it right, it is the cause of a lot more problems than you would don't be on it if you're not going to do it right. I really do think that. Someone said to me about YouTube before as well, a friend of mine who worked on the Top Gear channel and things like that. And he was like, don't come here and do it half-assed or think you know how to do it. He said, you've got to do it properly. Because if you don't do it properly, you'll just end up spreading yourself so thin with things that don't work. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of social at all until you actually know how to use it.
That's what I say to people. Don't try and get on one platform first. So people will come to me and say, right, I want to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Like, right, let's start with Facebook. Once we master Facebook, yes, we can start looking at Instagram and the likes of that. But I would say start with one platform and really get to know that. Facebook is the number one to do it. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've taken up a lot of people's times, which is awesome, because I want this to be able to put it on in the car, have a little listen on the way to work or out on the run. There's so much we've crammed into that, and I'd like to get you back on again, Ash, and explore
always as much as you want.
As a little thank you for coming on to the podcast, I would like to donate £10 to a charity that's close to your heart. Which charity would you like to make the donation to?
Do you know what? It would be breast cancer.
Yep. Okay.
So, yeah, that's what it would be.
Great cause as always. Right then, mate.
I was trying to think of a funky one that's really random.
No, I mean any charity. It's great because we've done 50. It's coming up to 50. I've scheduled in 50. Yeah, so we've got like 51. So that's 500 odd pounds that we've donated to charities of all the people that have been on. So it's awesome.
Wonderful idea.
Yeah, I'd just like to. It's nice to give something back because you've given up your time. It's nice to donate it to a charity. Ash, thank you so much for coming on. Just check him out on his socials. That's all I'm going to say. He's on just
you'll know how to find me. Come on, if you're in this industry and you don't know who I am now, just come on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really do appreciate it.
Always, man.
Catch you soon.